Dr. Kevin Conductor Bernard Perry, born June 15, 1964, has been involved in church music since 1972 and a full-time church music director since 1982. His first church music position was at the age of 8 as the pianist for the children's choir of the St. John Baptist Church in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He was educated in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system with numerous recognitions and awards in music and theater. Dr. Perry continued his education and graduated from the Winston-Salem State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in music and business. He will soon go on to continue his education at the North Carolina A&T Howard University at the North Carolina A&T Howard University of Divinity and conclude with a doctorate of sacred music from the Union Bible Theology Seminary. Dr. Perry has a passion for education, leadership, and music, which drives him to constantly seek ways to continue developing and growing to stay current and relevant. I would like to introduce Dr. Perry.
Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you once again to Dr. Williams and SPC and all those that are involved in making this moment happen for this invitation today. I love the uniqueness of myself because when I'm on various panels such as this, most people are coming from the lawyers, doctors, teachers, professors, and so forth. And mine comes from which most people consider really no career path, and that is a church music director. But I love what Mr. Wilson said before me when you talk about passion. And I have 3 P's, that's passion, pursuit, and persistent. Once you find your passion in life, that's what you go after. And I want to go back and start with my little story. I remember being in college there at the Winston-Salem State University, and my major was music with concentration in voice. And being a church boy, as they would call it, attending, of course, church every Sunday and singing and giving it my all in all, as I usually do, would come to voice class on Mondays raspy like you hear me now. And that would really infuriate my voice teacher. She would, just throw me out. We're not doing lessons today because, you've been out singing that junk all weekend and you come in here and think you're going to sing classical music. And just went through that whole ordeal. Also remember having jury. Jury for music majors was the time that you had to appear before your peers and the staff of the music department and just other professors throughout the college to judge you. And I remember when my voice instructor, after I finished, I had struggled because I had to sing a couple of pieces in foreign language. And I sort of struggled a little bit because once again, I got the little raspy thing going on. And so it wasn't all pure and clear as operatic as it should be. But I remember her sitting there in front of all of my college friends and other professors and made this statement at the end of my presentation. He will not graduate on time. That was very devastating to me, and of course, I'm keeping myself together, my composure, but there was this one professor named Dr. Winston Bell that met me out in the hall and lightly put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Son, you'll graduate on time. Just work a little bit harder, practice a little bit longer, and you'll be okay." And just those few words there alone really encouraged me to continue because, my passion was church music. And I also remember an instance where another professor stopped me on campus and asked me, "Son, what's your major? What's your goal in life?" I'm a church boy. So my response was, "Play for the church. I want to work at the church." And he just kind of stared and looked at me and said, "Now, you do understand there's no future in that. you really need to look at something else more sustainable, maybe, a teacher or, and those things. But I knew what my passion was. And so, of course, I stayed in music. I studied music. And of course, I studied the curriculum that I was to study of my foreign languages and so forth. But my passion was church music and church leadership and administration. And so I went on to complete college on time. Did not, and still having respect for the instructor that said that I wouldn't, and I still kind of thanked her and everyone else. And then, of course, went on to study psychology at the North Carolina A&T and theater at the North Carolina School of the Arts. So when you talk about, what is your life? My life is education, music, and leadership. Now, Dr. Sharon attends the church where I serve as minister of music, and they all know me. I am a very precise person. I like things done in decency and in order. I like things as near perfect as possible, although there is no such thing as perfect people, but we should work as closely as possible. And so I encourage you, it doesn't matter what your majors are and what you plan to do, make sure that is your passion, and that's what drives you every day. That's what gets me up every morning. And so, as my bio said, I started in 1972 at the age of 8 as the pianist for the junior choir. And so when we start talking about, well, when did that leadership start? It started then because I was over the children's choir. Although my peers were the same age as I was and a little bit older, I'm the one still telling them what they're going to sing and where we're going to sing. At that time, I only played in one key, and every song we're going to do, we're going to do it in this key right here. It doesn't matter if it sounds like the other song, we're going to do it in this key. and so, but I went on to develop musically, and because I understood that if I was going to grow and to be successful in music, that I had to learn the whole spectrum of music. And of course, as I got older and in my teenage years and in my young adult life, my music knowledge began to grow because it had to be successful. I have had the opportunity to teach in the public school. I taught 7th and 8th grade general music and chorus in Prince George's County in Maryland. And that was an experience with also still understanding that, church music is my passion. And I'm going to go back to that. I do have a little bit of time here. I remember being in New Bern, North Carolina. I was a music director there at a church. But I had gotten to a point where I kind of got a little tired of that. Got tired, got real tired and frustrated just because, being a little perfectionist, things just wasn't going my way. And please understand that as you go through life, things will not always go your way. That you have to make the adjustments. Well, at that time, I wasn't willing to make the adjustments. I didn't going to be my way, it's going to be no way. And so, I'm just praying and hollering and having fit. I'm tired. And so that's how I ended up in Maryland and Washington, D.C. I took on a position as a classroom teacher. Now, mind you, my passion and my drive is church music. I'm in a classroom. I enjoyed the years, but they were some tough years because when you're dealing with 7th and 8th graders, all of that's going on in their minds and in their heads, they're already grown. And, I'm already short. And, these students are standing over me. So, I'm like Sophia when she said I had to fight every day. Fight! I had to fight because the children thought they could run over me because I was short. I always had a baseball bat. So they finally called on them. So, but that's when I realized. That's when I realized that I was out of place. I was out of place. For that. I did. I had a bat. Because these children had issues. They had issues. And so I had to act like I was just as crazy as they was. So we could all be on the same level. But I finally realized that this is not where I'm supposed to be. Why? Because my life's calling and passion was in church music administration. But if I listened to those that said, well, you know, there's really no life in that, there's really no career in that, you're not going to get very far in that. But I am convinced the longer I live, that when it's your calling and your passion in life, it doesn't matter what it is. If that is what you are destined and deemed to do, that's where your greatest blessings are. That's where your fulfillment is. I don't care if it's crocheting. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's your passion, and that's what drives you, that's what gets you up every morning, that's what inspires you, even through the pain of it all, through the failure of it all, through the suffering of it all. I quit every Sunday at church. Every Sunday, I quit. I'm not coming back here, this is it. I've had enough, I'm done, out. But Monday morning, I'm back in the You have to give me a little time to get all that out, but I'll be back. But I'm back in office because that's what drives me. Having a purpose is what drives me to get up every morning. As a church music director, when they said there was no path in that, they said there's no life in that. But I have been blessed and fortunate to be successful as a full-time church minister of music since 1982. I worked these other jobs because I wanted to. But I was able to be in position so that I was able to sustain life as a church music director. When I graduated in 1982, it was actually my pastor, Greg, that brought me on at the church full time. But one stipulation with him was that I had to go to college. And not only that, I had to stay on college campus. Now, you gotta understand my personality. They say I'm, selfish and all of this. I just like things the way I like it. I'm okay around people and I'm okay in social things. But at that time, because I'm a child prodigy. I'm supposed to have my own, everything. But the pastor said, you're gonna go to school and you're gonna stay on campus. I fell apart. What do you mean stay on campus? That means I got roommates, have to share the same showers and things. I cannot do this. I cannot do this. This just violates everything about me. This violates all of my dignity. This violates all of my boujiness. I can't do this. You want me to stay on campus with these heathens? I'm going up in the church. That's all I know. Well, now I did get a little bit of what I wanted for the first 2 years. The director of resident life did allow me to have a room to myself. Well, that created another problem because, of course, my room was immaculate. My room didn't look like the regular cottage. I had decor everywhere. It was the penthouse on the 3rd floor. It was just the amazement of the whole, so forth. But then my residence life came to me and she said, now, Kevin, I've given you your own space for the past 2 years. It's time now that you learn how to live with others. And I'm having a meltdown. What do you mean? What do I do with my penthouse? You want me to give this up to do? And at that time, they had just built a new dorm that had the kitchen already in it, and it had 4 separate rooms. 2 rooms on one side, 2 rooms on the other, with 1 bathroom. That was still a problem. I need my own bathroom. But needless to say, I went on and I had the experience. And out of that, of course, developed friends and, of course, developed some good camaraderie and just learning how to live and to socialize. But the gist of it all is while you are going through the process of your life and figuring out what it is that you want to do and your passion, always enjoy the journey. Always celebrate. I'm at a point now after 43 years getting ready to do my first live
gospel choir recording that I am so excited about, that I brought some cards to share with you, because I'd love to see you there, that I'll be doing in November. But that wouldn't have been possible if I had not followed my passion and my dream. The degrees are good. You need them. They do open a certain amount of doors. When I was, because I mean, of course, when I'm a good musician, I'm a good choir director. I don't need all of those things. I can make it without them, and certainly you can. But so many doors started opening just a little bit wider, just because I had a few little letters behind my name. What you say? Got a bachelor, and doors are opening. And not only did the doors open, the money increased a little bit. What you say? I'm going to get, now that's enough to drive you right there, so I'm going just a little bit further. And then of course, you know, go on for some graduate works and stuff, and the doors open just a little while long, a little while. Well, what in the world did we get doctor for? Oh my goodness! The doors, but understanding that those things are nice and they do help you along the way. But I did not, because it's not the degrees that made me, I made the degrees. Because the doctor was in me before the papers came. Thy people, just even as a kid, little professor, look, that's why be careful what you say to yourselves and about yourselves and to your children and grandchildren, nieces and nephews. They was always calling me around, oh, doctor, little professor, little Mozart. And so they kept instilling those things in my life until eventually here I am today, you know, at that point. But as I say in my closing, I don't watch empire, I build them. And there are so many other entities that if I had time, I could tell you that I've gone beyond just the church walls and church music. Other entities and organizations that I've established that complements my life and purpose of music, education, and leadership. So every day that you wake up, every day it needs to be a drive. That this is what I'm called to do. And that should be what gets you up every morning and keeps you moving. Oh, there's going to be pain throughout it. Oh, there is going to be some blockages every now and then. But you get up, dust yourself off, and keep right on going. You don't know the numerous of times that I've had learning experiences. I don't call them failures. I call them learning experiences. That you learn from this and know how to handle it and how to do it correctly or better the next time. You can be anything that you want to be as long as you qualify for it.